There are expectations on each and every NFL player heading into each and every NFL season, and heading into 2021, Jags' first-round quarterback Trevor Lawrence was expected to be the franchise savior and to more than turn them around. And as we know, there needs to be a team around the quarterback, and not surprisingly, Trevor did not have a great rookie season. However, there were 4 other quarterbacks drafted in the first round last year, and in today's video, we're going to be discussing the expectations for the 5 quarterbacks from the 2021 first round. And before we dive into each player, I want to give a big shout out to today's sponsor, PrizePicks. PrizePicks is both an easy and fun way to play daily fantasy sports and is available in most US states, and as you can see, there are countless options to choose from for a player for their upcoming game or season-long props. And fitting enough for this video, given we will discuss his quarterback, I will be choosing over 1,000.5 yards for Deebo Samuel, for the season that is, as it's only 58 yards per game, and over Trevor Lawrence 22.5 passing touchdowns. And if both of these hit, a simple $20 bet wins me 60. And as you can see, there's plenty of options to choose from, and if you sign up for PrizePicks using code ANALYSIS, you will receive a 100% deposit match up to $100. Click the link in the description below, and again, a big thank you to PrizePicks for sponsoring today's video. And now we discuss the 5 2021 first round quarterbacks. And we're going in reverse order from how they were drafted, and we are starting with Mac Jones of the New England Patriots. Mac, without a doubt, had the most productive year out of any of the 5 selected in the first round last year, as he threw for 22 touchdowns on just over 3,800 passing yards, with 3,801 to be exact, while completing nearly 68% of his passes. And I do think Mac Jones is a solid quarterback, but with Mac, I believe there are limitations to his game, and I think 2021 isn't far off from a statistical standpoint with what you're going to see from Mac Jones for quite a while. And he will improve as he goes on in the league, and I'm not denying that or trying to imply that he's only as good as what you saw in 2021, because at the end of the day, that was good enough for the Patriots to make the playoffs. But what I am saying is I don't think Mac will ever throw for 40 touchdowns in a year and be insanely efficient and have a crazy 37-9 touchdown interception ratio or something along these lines, you know what I mean? And especially not in 2022 when you factor in what the Patriots did, or in this case, did not do to help out their young quarterback this offseason. The most notable thing they did was trade for Devontae Parker, who isn't bad by any means, but he is no franchise-changing receiver. He has one 1,000-yard season to his name, and that was in a contract year back in 2019. So projecting Mac to me is the least difficult of the 5 because he has a very high floor as a player, as he is very intelligent for how young he is, and on top of it, which cannot be said about any of the other quarterbacks from this class, by the way, but we saw him produce in year 1. And when 2022 is over, I think Mac Jones will be in the 4,000 yard range with 24 to 26 touchdown passes and 10 to 12 interceptions. I also think the Patriots are going to be in the 8 to 9 win range and be in contention for the playoffs as well. And next up is Justin Fields of the Chicago Bears, who, like Trevor Lawrence, had a bad rookie season for a lot of things that were simply outside of his control. Justin didn't play good by any means either, at least not on a consistent basis, as there were obviously flashes of good play here and there for Fields in 2021, but not enough to make you think this kid is going to be the franchise quarterback for the Bears for a very long time. And again, some of that isn't his fault, as his head coach was on his way out the door, and GM too for that matter, and I'm sure that had to have been felt around the facility and weighing on some guys. And projecting Fields in 2022 is admittedly tough because of Justin not playing a lot in 2021, combined with new coaching and losing offensive players as well, such as Allen Robinson and James Daniels. They added Byron Pringle, Equanimous St. Brown, and of course have Darnell Mooney and Cole Kmet, along with running back David Montgomery. I am not a fan of this situation the Bears have put Justin Fields in, as even if we go back to 2017 for a second and they draft Patrick Mahomes instead of Mitch Trubisky, what would Patrick be able to do in this offense much less a quarterback who struggled mightily in his rookie season. And a successful season for Justin Fields would be making more strides and becoming a better overall passer, as last year he completed just 58.9% of his passes, which ranked 32nd out of 33 qualifiers, and the only player it was above was fellow 2021 draftee Zach Wilson. Again, Fields' situation was not favorable, and it isn't again this year, but the problems we saw at Ohio State, not surprisingly, carried over into the NFL, such as staring receivers down most notably. I like Darnell Mooney and Cole Kmet quite a bit, but I do not like the Bears' offensive line and think it probably will be another long year for Chicago. I loved Justin as a prospect, but I don't see a situation as of July in 2022 where we see him take a big step and think he is 100% the guy moving forward, and the Bears rebuild has to be centered around him. I would love that, but I think Justin's 2022 season statistically will look something like 3,000 passing yards, a few hundred rushing yards, 17 to 19 touchdowns, and 12 to 14 interceptions. And from a team standpoint, I think the Bears are going to be in the 5 to 7 win range. The third quarterback taken in the 2021 draft was Trey Lance to the San Francisco 49ers, and the projection for Lance in 2022, whether it is from myself, you watching the video, or anyone on TV, largely depends on how much you think Trey Lance plays in 2022. And as of now, Jimmy G is still on the 49ers roster, and even though he is on the roster, I am under the belief Trey Lance will start all 17 games for the 49ers this year. I don't think you trade 3 first-round picks for a player to not play him or have him sit out in today's league longer than a year. This is not the old school NFL, and this team made it to the NFC Championship game last year and went to the Super Bowl just 3 years ago. The only season they were truly irrelevant was in 2020 when they were injured like crazy, and you cannot control those types of things. And while I don't think Trey will come in and be this insane star quarterback, I do think he will be good enough to keep the 49ers in contention atop the NFC. And over the past few years, Jimmy G was never overly dominant, or the 49ers did not win multiple games per season because of him, and in 2019 and 2021 combined, he threw for just 47 touchdowns in nearly 2 seasons of work. He missed 2 games this year and started all 16 in 2019. So to suggest Trey couldn't come in and throw for 20 couple touchdown passes and simply not lose the team games and not force passes, whether it is to George Kittle or Deebo Samuel, because, spoiler, I do think they will work out a long-term deal with Deebo, but I think it is more than reasonable to suggest or to believe in Trey Lance to play good enough in 2022. And from the statistical standpoint, I think Trey will be in the 32 to 3,400 passing yard area, along with 22 to 24 touchdowns and 10 to 12 interceptions. And on the ground, I think he will be in the 4 to 600 yard range, along with 5 to 7 touchdowns. I do believe in head coach Kyle Shanahan and think he will make this transition as easy as he possibly can, and I'm sure there will be some growing pains, but I don't think it's anything Trey can't overcome, especially with the supporting cast he will have this year. And we are now at the number 2 overall pick, which was Zach Wilson to the New York Jets. The Jets had a very good offseason, and Jets fans have a legitimate reason to be hyped about both their quarterback and their future for the first time in seemingly a while. At minimum, there is far more reason to believe in the Jets now versus heading into 2019 when Sam Darnold was entering his second year. And Zach Wilson had his fair share of struggles in 2021, and some of that can certainly be attributed to the poor weapons he had around him and at times very poor play calling. But heading into 2022, there's legitimate reason to be excited, as not only is Elijah Moore entering year 2, who had a very solid stretch in his rookie season before his season prematurely ended, but now they have a first-round receiver in Garrett Wilson, and who I thought was the best running back in the 2022 draft in Breece Hall from Iowa State. They also added 2 solid veterans in free agency at the tight end position in CJ Uzomah from the Cincinnati Bengals and Tyler Conklin from the Minnesota Vikings. But Zach struggled under pressure in 2021 as he finished the year just 34 for 116, which translates to a completion percentage of just 29%, and even when he was kept clean, he had more interceptions than touchdowns, and both of these stats are according to PFF. Zach also really struggled with the medium throws between 10 and 19 yards and had a woeful TD to INT ratio of 2 to 8 in this part of the field. However, there were times where Zach more than stepped up and showed why he was the number 2 pick in the draft, and even though they lost the Bucs game, he played well in that game all things considered, and they also beat the Tennessee Titans, who ended up being the number 1 seed in the AFC. And for Zach in 2022, my biggest concern is not that he's a draft bust or does not have what it takes. My biggest concern is that the Jets are going to start out bad, as the first 9 games in their schedule are rough. And while the Jets did improve a lot this offseason, how many games in here are they truly going to win? And that is my biggest concern with the Zach Wilson-led Jets in 2022. And out of anything to be concerned about, I feel like that is relatively minor in the grand scheme of things because I do believe in Zach, his tools, and the players around him. And statistically, I think Zach will be in the 3,500 yard, 24 touchdown, and 13 interception area in year number 2. And last but certainly not least is Jags quarterback Trevor Lawrence, who, as you guys know, had one of the worst situations a rookie can possibly have around him in their first year. And I truly ask this, what did the Jags do to help him out in year 1 to fully try and develop him? Not surprisingly, Trevor could not overcome all of the obstacles that were required, and he finished his rookie season with a 12-17 TD to INT ratio. And keep in mind, Trevor was a rookie last year, so it should not come as a surprise he was not the best under pressure, as he completed just 38% of his passes and threw 4 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. And while the Christian Kirk contract received a ton of attention because of the severe overpayment for his services, the Jags needed to do something to help Trevor out, and simply put, I don't think this was enough, and the Jags still have a bottom-tier receiving core, and their tight ends are not great either. I like Trevor the player, and specifically within the Colts game at the end of the year, he flashed several times why he was touted as one of the best prospects we've seen in some time. But for his second season statistically, I do think he will be limited because of the lack of weapons he has around him. I don't think he will be able to fully maximize what he can do. Now, to be clear, I do love the Doug Peterson hire and think those two will work great together, but the Jags need better players. And for the projection for Trevor in year 2, I think he will be in the 4,200 yard, 27 passing touchdown, and 13 interception area. Now, if you think 4,200 is high, please remember he threw for over 3,600 yards last year, and from a rushing standpoint, I think Trevor will eclipse 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. And with that being said, that's all I have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, now is the time I ask you to please leave a like and subscribe to the channel, as it would truly mean the world. There are big things coming up with the channel in the near future that I can't wait to share with you guys, but anyways, let me know what you think in the comments, and until next time, as always, please be safe and have a great day. Love you guys.